KHOU TV, Houston. And now, from 11 News in Houston, Steve Smith, Marlene McClinton, Dr. Neil Frank with weather, and Kip Nielsen on sports. This is KHOU 11 News.
Good evening, everybody. Well, a hurricane came calling on Texas today, and most folks are saying it could have been worse. In Clear Lake City tonight, the worst appears to be over. What remains now is cleaning up the mess left behind by 16 inches of rain there.
Nancy Holland is standing by live right now in one of the areas where the cleanup has already started. Nancy?
Marlene, there will be quite a bit to do around here. There are a lot of trees down in this area, as I think you can see behind me. Now, the couple that lives here just moved to Houston a couple of months ago from Canada. Well, they got quite a welcome to Houston, but their neighbors didn't really do much better. A lot of people in the Brookwood subdivision spent the evening trying to clean up. These homes are new. People have lived here only a few months. Many bought because they liked the trees. Now there's less to like. One man said the falling trees in his yard sounded like a shotgun, but he's still grateful.
Always grow a new tree, though. At least they don't hit the house or anything. We're all in one piece, so.
While there was street flooding to strand drivers, much of Clear Lake's damage came from above. Wind ripped away roofing and drove in rain, leaving store owners to pick up the pieces of their fallen roofs. One carpet cleaning company says it expects to vacuum water from the carpets of literally hundreds of apartment dwellers with roof leaks. At the Hilton on Nassau Road 1, a similar cleanup went on. Carpets that were soaked were cleaned. It will take longer to refurbish one lounge here, where parts of the ceiling fell in and water continued to drip steadily. But earlier, even at the height of the storm, people here remained safe. And the pounding rain and wind that could have done millions of dollars in damage to yachts did not, as workers struggled to secure the boats. There were no injuries, and while some will have to cope with the problems of property damage, a few could even take pleasure in the remnants of the storm. And I think the key here really is that it could have been a lot worse. As we said, no injuries, just some cleanup to be done.
All right, Nancy, thanks for filling us in. No injuries there, but Chantal appears to have taken a deadly turn up at College Station. 2 teenagers are missing tonight after their raft flipped over in a swollen culvert. Small raft carrying 4 teens capsized in a whirlpool about 7 o'clock tonight. 2 of the boaters managed to swim to safety. The others were swept downstream. Rescue crews have vowed to continue searching throughout the night for the rafters.
Back in Houston, the cleanup of the flooded South Acres area of Houston will have to wait at least until tomorrow. Many people, including small children, had to be taken by airboat to drier ground, and they were not particularly happy about being rescued. Dozens of homes filled with water because Sims Bayou spilled out of its banks. Some folks lost nearly everything. These folks say there was nothing they can do when the water finally started to rise and got closer and closer to their homes.
Throwing down blankets and sheets and towels, and you know, we thought it was just going to come as far as the back part of the house, but it didn't. It kept coming, and when it stopped raining, we thought it was going to go down some, but it didn't. It just kept coming in.
The area, the water proved too tough even for some Houston Fire Department trucks. They got stuck in street flooding. They had to be pulled out like so many other vehicles on this wet day. But many people are saying this is one of the wettest storms we have had in a good long time. Neil, what do you think?
Well, how about 10 years?
Yeah, that's wet.
Okay, because we can go back to 1979, tropical storm by the name of Claudette, stayed in the area about 3 days and 40 inches down at Alvin. So this one wasn't quite that wet, but we are pleased to see it depart the area. You can see the coordinates there tonight, 30.8 north, 96.4 west. That puts the position up north of College Station. They got about 2 inches of rain up there as it passed. But notice also the winds are down to 30 miles an hour. That means it's no longer even a tropical storm. It is a depression. All warnings have been discontinued, and we are pleased to say goodbye.
And good riddance, too.
That's right.
Unwelcome visitor.
Thanks.
The storm barged ashore, spilling torrential rain and winds pounding areas from Pasadena to League City. There are many tales of frustration, desperation, even desertion. 11 News reporter Terry Elliott has more.
At times, the winds were vicious, twisting and pushing street signs to the point they often became roadway litter. But that seemed minimal compared to the waters that flooded most streets. leaving motorists stranded and frustrated.
We need canoes out here.
What do you think about this weather?
It's beautiful out bar soap.
The weather showed no mercy. Showers pelted a lonely horse that waited patiently for someone to lead it to shelter. Further south in League City, the rain had come and gone, but it left its mark. Streets became small rivers, the kind of thing that makes homeowners nervous.
Because the water's up right here at the step right here now. And we're going to leave. We're going to get ready to go out of here now.
Bay Ridge resident Kent Pollock says storms in the past don't compare with Chantal.
Probably the worst one I've ever seen was Alicia, Hurricane Alicia, and it got about 3/4 way up the driveway. And this is by far the worst.
It's an assessment that probably few people will argue with. Terry Elliott, 11 News.
Including a lot of folks who were driving today. For several hours, Chantal held a lot of drivers hostage on the Gulf Freeway, certainly. Powerful combination of driving rain and heavy wind flooded just about every feeder road along the road to Galveston, all the way from Airport Boulevard in Houston down to the Causeway. Roads also were blocked by the stalled vehicles of drivers who've tried but failed to get through, and there were a lot of those today. Some places, such as FM 646 near Dickinson, water was as deep as 5 feet.
I went to work. I had to deliver a load, and then I realized it was kind of dangerous, so I changed my mind, and I tried to make it back home.
Now, what is it Fred Lowe was doing there in the water? Well, he was hooking up a chain to his van so he could pull it out with a tractor-trailer rig. He pulled the van out. Of course, the damage was already done. It was soaked. Most drivers learned by example and opted to pull over and wait it out, as if they had any other choice.
However, throughout most of Houston, traffic kept on rolling. Houston's airports managed to stay open during the storm, although flights were delayed and canceled. Metro buses kept running as well. And as Bill Jeffries reports, it's amazing how life goes on even during a hurricane.
There were parking lots that turned into rivers and streets where getting stuck was a real danger. But if you were lucky, enterprising teenagers hoping for a tip might splash in and help you out. Traffic in most parts of Houston kept moving, if slowly, and amid numerous accidents, some dramatic, there are no traffic fatalities reported in Houston. For the power company, untying downed and tangled power lines was the job of the day. At one point, nearly 250,000 Houston lighting and power customers were without electricity, the worst power company blowout of the year.
The wind got the twist in the pole and it broke it and laid it down, so it locked our circuit out. Our biggest problem right now is the wind. The trees are getting into a whole lot of overhead circuits, and that's what's causing so much problem with lockouts.
I heard two loud noises, one on a transformer and one on the fuse on the pole. And then I keep looking out the window, and I saw that other pole coming down.
Fortunately, no serious injuries are reported from the many downed power lines. Meanwhile, Southwestern Bell says only 1,400 of its customers lost phone service during the day.
By and large, city services were up and running despite the storm. Libraries and health clinics were open, and perhaps most surprising of all, Houston garbage workers were able to cover most, if not all, of their routes.
For people in Houston, Chantal was a headache, but not the migraine headache that a hurricane can be. Bill Jeffries, 11 News.
And because of that tonight, a whole lot of folks around here are breathing a whole lot more easily.
Our Carolyn Campbell has spent the evening surveying the damage Chantal left behind all over the southwest Houston. She joins us now live from one of the Red Cross shelters set up to give flood victims a dry place to sleep. Carolyn?
That's right, Marlene. We're here. About 60 people are bedding down at St. Benedict's Catholic Church. A Metro bus just dropped off about 39 people, and they're from the Martin Luther King area. The Red Cross set up the shelter at noon today, and families on 2 streets here in Hiram-Clark begin to see high water from Sims Bayou. The people here say they're surprised that they got as much water as they did from Chantal.
The people who live on Bayberry Street had to wade through knee-deep water to get to and from their homes. Most folks, like Debbie Richards, left as soon as the water started coming through her front door.
I did no preparation for this, and so when I saw the water just flowing into my house, I said, oh my God. So I just grabbed my baby, grabbed a few clothes, and just got out of there.
But her husband is back at the house and has already started trying to clean up. So have a few other neighbors.
This year, actually, we have 11 inches of rain inside our house.
Frederick Villamayor says he's glad the water didn't get any higher than it did. This is the 6th flood he's been through.
We wanted to sell this house, but nobody would buy it because the moment they know that it is flooded, they don't like to buy it.
There's a tornado watch in effect for much of east and southeast Texas, including Houston area, until 5 this afternoon, and a flash flood watch is in effect today.
And in far southwest Houston, several businesses also felt the sting when the winds and rains from Hurricane Chantal moved in. The Pizza Inn at 59 in West Belford had to close for the evening. Water from Keegan's Bayou was just about knocking at its back door. But right next to it, the McDonald's served as a refuge for several waterlogged motorists who couldn't get home.
I was trying to get home, and the water was so high I just couldn't go any further.
The water along Gray's Bayou was about 1 foot below the Chimney Rock Bridge at 4 this evening. The high water along Gray's would turn some motorists around. Still others braved the high water, only to find out their cars were no match for it.
And Marlene and Steve, the people here say they're no match for the water, so they're going to spend the night here, and we're going to get out of their way so they can get some rest. They have a lot of hard work ahead of them.
I'm sure and hoping they can get back to normal tomorrow.
That's right.
All right, thanks, Carolyn. Red Cross has set up 3 shelters in Harris County to help flood victims. Folks in Houston can go to St. Benedict's Catholic Church, where you just saw Carolyn, or they can go to St. Luke's Catholic Church. And in Pasadena, a shelter is open at Trinity Baptist Church. In Galveston County, the only shelter still open is the Westwood Elementary School in Friendswood. And in Liberty County, Midway Baptist Church is open at this hour. And in Fort Bend County, evacuees can go to the Sugarland Community Center.
Well, there is more news on this day. Still to come on 11 News tonight. An American hostage gets a stay of execution in Lebanon. His family back home applauds. The crew of a Delta flight that crashed last year in Dallas makes jokes about what they will leave behind.
Later on, some people just know how to enjoy a hurricane better than others. Stay tuned.
This is a new Chrysler New Yorker. The new Buick LeSabre costs over $2,000.
Days only its deadline for killing Joseph Sicipio. The group said it was acting in response to an emotional plea by this woman, Sicipio's Lebanese-born wife. The so-called stay of execution was sent to a Beirut newspaper. Relatives of the hostage rejoiced at the news when they heard about it back home.
We really needed this 48-hour catch to make a big difference. You always hear from the administration, no deal. But you have to make a deal. Joe is a very strong person. He always was. And if anybody can hold on, Joseph can.
At the same time, Israeli leaders are offering to swap that Muslim religious leader they captured last week for U.S. and Israeli hostages being held in Lebanon. That kidnapping resulted in the apparent hanging of Marine Lieutenant Colonel William Higgins. Still no positive identification tonight. That's Higgins in the picture. U.S. leaders tonight say they will not give in to terrorists, but the Pope has been asked to do what he can in this situation. The Bush administration has to look for another nominee to fill the nation's top civil rights position. The Senate Judiciary Committee voted to reject President Bush's nomination of William Lucas to be Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights. Democratic critics pointed to the Detroit lawyer's lack of experience and what they saw as his lack of commitment to civil rights. Committee Republicans disagreed. They said the rejection was political and an example of discrimination and reverse racism. Tonight, the Bush administration is calling on the committee to reconsider its decision.
A newly released audio tape from Delta Flight 1141 made for some shocking and ironic revelations today. That Delta flight crashed a year ago this month in Dallas, killing 14 people. Before the crash, crew members of the airliner joked about what the media would discover if the plane went down.
Yeah, we forgot something on our first leg today. We forgot to discuss about the dating habits of our flight attendants so we could get it on the recorder, you know, in case we crashed and the media would have some kind of a juicy tidbit. Is that what they're looking for? Yeah, you know that Continental that crashed in Denver? I think they've had nothing on we got to leave something for our wife and children to listen to.
Delta has admitted liability for the crash and fired the 3 crew members. The National Transportation Safety Board is scheduled to release a report on the crash in September. Investigators believe the crew improperly set the wing flaps on the 727. A tractor-trailer crash in Dallas killed one man and caused a 24-block evacuation. The tandem rig swerved out of control on Interstate 45, rammed a set of safety barrels, then tumbled about 20 feet to the service road below. The truck was carrying chemicals that spilled out onto the road. Officials were afraid that the chemicals would mix with the rain and create a dangerous gas, so people in a 24-block area were forced to move out. The driver of the truck died in the crash. Another person driving behind him was injured. When we come back, a look at the place where Hurricane Chantal made her first strike at the Texas coast.
And Neil joins us with a word on what's left of the storm, next on 11 News.
By now, most of you know about the amazing heat pump, a machine that will keep you in Houston, a big film processed at Eckerd.
Oh, that felt good.
Subs as a super sub. Get twice the meat and a free Sub Chaser squeeze bottle when purchased with a 32-ounce drink.
The eye of the hurricane stayed well to the east of Houston, passing directly over the Bolivar Peninsula and the town of High Island. Storm came crashing ashore there early this morning with winds exceeding 70 miles per hour. Then after a few hours, the wind and rain were gone, at least for a while, and the calm lasted just long enough for some local anglers to go after some of the fish driven in by the storm surge. Property damage was minor across the peninsula.
I love to fish, but not that badly. Not that badly at all. Well, you're going to get some sleep tonight, finally, after a couple of days.
Well,
huh?
I hope so. I'm certainly happy to report tonight that the strong winds and the heavy rains have moved away, leaving in the aftermath a lot of clouds around. We can take a look at that by looking at our current readings. A lot of clouds and the temperature ranging from 76 at Intercontinental to 82 down on the island. Now, one sure sign, folks, that storm has departed is the winds have shifted into the south-southwest, and they have also slacked off. They're gusting to 25 miles an hour, and because the winds have slacked off, then all warnings have been discontinued, but small craft should stay in port until these winds and seas subside. Now let's take a look at the departing of this storm, picking up the action when the center was still off the coast yesterday. Watch the spinning clouds as the center moves up to the coastline early this morning and this afternoon finally on to the north. And tonight the center is up north of College Station. If you're plotting the coordinates 30.8 north, 96.4 west, that places a position just north of the College Station. And notice the winds are down to 30 miles an hour, and I trust that you're enjoying the tracking charts that you've been picking up at Kroger's. All right, now the unusual feature about this storm was the rainfall pattern. In a normal hurricane, this is what the rain looks like. You see the eye here, no rain at all, surrounded by a ring of thunderstorms. We call that the wall cloud, and then generally over on the right-hand side, you see bands of rains spinning in towards the center. And as the storm moves along, if you go through the right wall cloud, you're going to get a lot of rain, and if you go through the west or the left wall cloud, you're also going to get a lot of rain. Now let's pick up the action on the radar yesterday and watch what happens to the wall cloud. Now the center was beyond the radar range here at this time, 6 o'clock in the morning. As we put the radar into motion, watch the spinning rain showers as the center moves right up to the coastline. 7:30 this morning, the center was over High Island, as Marlene has already indicated. But notice there is no wall cloud on the right-hand side, so very little rain here, but an unusual event. Very heavy rain on the left-hand side with the wall cloud. Rain rates there of 1 to 2 inches an hour, stayed over the area for about 8 hours, and as a result of that, very intense rainfall fell. 16 inches, as a matter of fact, down at Clear Lake. We had 11 inches at LaPorte and also down at in other places in the southwest. But look on the other side, only 1 inch at Huffman. Now this is what it looks like tonight. Watch that high as that high moves on to the northeast. It looks like it ought to provide a channel for this storm to move on into North Texas and probably give a lot of rain there. But our forecast is finally looking good. We're showing a 60% chance of rain tomorrow. That may be a little on the pessimistic side. We may see a little less than that. By afternoon, we'd ought to be about 85. Headed for the upper 80s tomorrow, depending on how much rain that we have. But then if we can get by tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday look much better. And we do have another little friend out in the middle of the Atlantic by the name of Dean, and we will be watching that for you very carefully in the next couple of days.
Well, we hope you folks had a chance to read the nice piece about Neil in the Houston Post this morning. If you didn't, he's got about 150,000 copies. He'll Good job this week. Thank you. Matt Musil's up next with sports. The Astros looking to start a big road trip with a big win.
And Oiler rookies try to survive the first cut. Skip will have a live report from the training camp in San Marcos.
Dear Walgreens, we were away on vacation when I discovered I didn't have my medication.
Walgreens. Walgreens is exploding with values during the big back-to-school Price Blaster sale.
At Gallery 45 North, between Tibble and Parker, and buy the name brand furniture you've always wanted at the lowest prices possible. Gallery Furniture sells quality furniture for less. Gallery saves you money.
Gallery Furniture, 694-5570.
Well, this sure won't be the unkindest cut of all for the Oiler rookies. I can tell you that. They can live through this one.
We'll explain that one here in a second. I'll have the latest from those red-hot Astros in a moment. But first, let's go live to Gift Nielsen, who has the latest from Oiler training camp. Gift, how about those cuts that Marlene was referring to?
They're beautiful, and it's not over yet, Matt. We're going to have some more tomorrow, but a little bit more a cooler day today for the Oilers as they prepare for a Friday night scrimmage with the Kansas City Chiefs in San Antonio. I guess the biggest news, you mentioned it, the camp cuts by the rookies. It's pretty much a ritual each camp. The Oilers offensive linemen grabbing rookies and doing a number on them. I'm talking literally here. It sure makes camp a lot cooler for the younger players, helps the veterans know who they are. This doesn't seem as radical nowadays. I've seen some haircuts similar to this on the streets. And joining me tonight, my live guest is Oiler linebacker John Grimsley. And John, did you have anything to do with those haircuts?
Well, I always try to take part in at least one haircut, and I got one lined up for somebody tomorrow, and we're going to try to be real creative on that one.
Let's talk just a little bit about your situation right now. The Oilers are expected to win. You win by playing great defense. What do you think going into this campaign?
Well, I think nothing but the best for our defense. We're really strong right now. We have everybody back, and everybody's having a good camp so far. And, I expect nothing but the best from the Houston Oilers defense this year.
Mike Hollowak says that there is not a better set of linebackers in the National Football League. Do you believe that? I think I do.
Well, of course. At least I hope he remembers it next year after my contract's up. But no, I think we really play well next to each other, and I think the biggest part is our communication. We communicate well together, and we know what to expect from each other. And when you play like that, when you play the way we play, I don't see any other better pair of linebackers in the league.
What is one thing, John, you're working on during this training camp that'll help you during the regular season?
Well, I'm working on trying to better my pass coverages. That's one area where I kind of lack a little bit because I'm not gifted with the greatest speed. But, I go out there and, I try to be in the right place at the right time and use a lot of leverage and try to cut the running backs off at times when I have to cover them. And that's basically what I'm trying to work towards right now.
All right. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Gil.
John Grimsley loves to hit people, Matt. Loves to give haircuts, too. We'll see his rendition tomorrow.
All right, Giff, he mentioned contracts. Nothing new on any of the contract or contract holders, right?
No contact by Mike Hollowak with any of the free agents or their agents today.
All right, Giff. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you tomorrow. All right. Now, the latest on the Astros and the Brat Pack was in Cincinnati tonight, opening up a 10-game road trip, and this is how it went in the top of the first. They got started early. Ken Caminiti with the bases loaded. One of 3 hits on the night. He drives in 2 with a single. Craig Biggio, Rafael Ramirez come across. It's 2-0 over the Reds at that point. That's all the run support starter Rick Rhoden needed as he picked up his first win of the year after going 5 innings. Billy Hatcher, by the way, had a 2-run single in the 6th. Glenn Davis hit his 23rd homer of the year in the 9th to give the Astros a 5-0 win. What a great way to open this road trip while things just get tougher and tougher for the embattled Pete Rose. Now, checking action for tonight's Giants-Dodgers game. The Dodgers were leading in this one until the 5th when Giant third baseman Matt Williams homered to deep center field, tying the score at 1-1. With the Giants took the lead in the 6th after a missed play by Fernando Valenzuela. A comebacker to the mound, and Fernando tries to get Brett Butler, who's running to third. A good throw would have had him, but he throws it away. Butler scores. Giants go on top 2-1, and they go on to win that ball game 5-2 to stay 1 game ahead of the Stros. Now checking the other scores on the board in the National League, Montreal edged Pittsburgh tonight in 11. The Cubs top the Phillies. The Mets are shutting out the Cardinals in the 9th. San Diego took Atlanta in 11. In the American League, the big story in the East. Boston took both ends of a doubleheader from Baltimore today to move to within 1 game of first place. Baltimore has now lost 13 of their last 14. Elsewhere, Brett Saberhagen hurled a 3-hitter as the Royals edged the Blue Jays. Cleveland is trailing Milwaukee in the 8th. Texas dumped Detroit, and Minnesota shaded New York this afternoon. In the late game, Seattle leading California in the 3rd, Chicago trailing Oakland in the 4th. And one NBA note tonight, former Duke standout Danny Ferry will not be playing in the NBA this coming season. Ferry was the #1 draft pick of the LA Clippers, 2nd selection overall in this year's draft, but he's been unable to come to terms with the Clippers, so today he signed a 1-year deal to play with a team in Rome, and the deal is reportedly worth $1 million. And that'll do it for sports. And again, the Astros get off to a great start in that road trip.
$1 million is about 400 million lira.
Yes, it is.
Thank you, man.
We have a late note for you and a surprise announcement made just moments ago. George W. Bush has said he will not run for the governor of Texas in 1990. 42-year-old Bush is the oldest son of the president, and he had been considered and rumored by many to be a potential candidate for governor. But he was up in Dallas tonight, and apparently Bush said he was not interested in the state's top job. Stay with us. When we come back, we'll check with Neil for a late-night update.
And we'll also see how some of the folks in the Houston area weathered or didn't weather the storm.
What makes birthdays so special? Is it the party, the presents, the cake, or is it something more he needs most? Another birthday.
Bring a lifetime of happy birthdays to a child who needs you. Call 1-800-453-8600. That's 1-800-453-8600.
Since he's been up all day and he knows the most about it, let's give the last word on Chantal to Neil.
Okay, Marlene, it's very easy to say that tonight. The storm is moving northward up into north-central Texas, and the winds have decreased, now below tropical storm strength. All warnings have been discontinued, so maybe we can get back to a normal weather day as we move towards the end of the week. And I'm happy to report that for you.
No, you are. Thanks.
Finally tonight, southeast Texas survives another direct hit by a hurricane. This year's C storm, C for Chantal. Some images of this hurricane. With so many cars stranded as their drivers tried to outguess the low spots, a sign takes on sinister meaning. The Lone Star waves as proudly as ever, if a little forlornly. This banner has survived many, many Chantels, though.
She should lose the house, but she won't lose the car.
A struggle to elevate a luxury car, luxury wheels close to becoming $30,000 worth of waterlogged. 11 News reporter Deborah Martine creating a new dance, or perhaps exhibiting a heretofore unknown journalistic affliction. Maybe Deborah was adapting the Chantal chop as spotted from our chopper. Another colleague, Janet Shamley, in hairstyle and dignity disappearing with the wind. Metro meeting its match. The ATA rising in its place. Airboat Transit Authority. Will reporter and part-time poet Norm Yule find the windshield wipers he so desperately needs to complete his assignment? Tune in tomorrow. Oh, they were out working today, weren't they?
Yes.
Let's stay in where it's nice and dry.
They had the hard job today.
I miss doing that, though.
Yeah. That's our news for this evening. Thank you for joining us.
We'll see you again tomorrow.